Hey there guys, it's me, Levi from Masculine Intuition Readings, and I wanted to film like this today because I feel like it's been a while since I've shown my face on camera like this for a video. Partially because it's easier to just, film your flip throughs and your like first impressions and or reviews, but also because it can be a little bit like more vulnerable to be in front of the camera like this. And I'm literally sitting on the floor behind these two cabinets that feature my complete deck collection. I hope I remember to look into the camera, not at myself the whole time, because my camera is in selfie mode right now. So let me try to like not do that. And I just wanted to hop on here because I got some new stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit about deck collecting and, just some random musings that have been going on in my mind. Looking at my collection through the lens, literally, of this camera, it's like I have this amazing store full of awesome knowledge, like sitting right behind me, and, so this video kind of has two purposes. I kind of want to quickly show off some new stuff that I got, and I want to talk about something that I've touched on in my Instagram lives, because I'm also on Instagram, and I do a live every week together with Martin of Tarot in the City. And we did this live about how to make your collection more fun. And you can do that kind of by, for example, curating mini collections that you want to work with. And I kind of want to get to the point where I am a total hoarder. No, I'm not. Like, that's not the right terminology. I am. Let's not misdiagnose myself. I am, of course, I'm not a hoarder, but I am definitely a collector. I've always been, even as a kid, I went through these phases, wanting all the Pokemon stuff, wanting all the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, wanting all the Goosebumps books, like I was a total collector, and I still am. And that collection, the focal point of my collection and my collecting habits right now is definitely the tarot. And at some point you kind of like reach this point where you're like, I'm literally drowning in decks, and I'm literally running out of days to use all of them, and I kind of want to deepen my bond with my collection. I'm not one of those people that will say no more decks for me ever again. That doesn't work for me at all, but I do kind of want to like slow my roll a little bit when it comes to collecting, because I very much remember the first time I got a deck that was not a standard Rider-Waite-Smith. I think it was, it's right here. The first tarot deck that I owned that wasn't a direct Rider-Waite-Smith version was the Luminous Boy Tarot by Laura Zupan, which I adore. And I remember opening this for the first time and looking at it and being kind of scared and being kind of like, ooh, I don't know if I can work with this. The imagery isn't exactly the same. Like, ooh, really interesting. And I remember that feeling of amazement and, taking it all in. Adoring it. I kind of miss the days when getting a new deck felt like an exploration. I remember when getting a new deck felt like something adventurous and something cool and something exciting. And even though I am excited whenever I get something new in, sometimes it will kind of feel like meh. So yeah, that can be a little bit annoying. I remember whenever you got a new deck and it really felt like you were on this exploration. One of the decks that I really had this with was this one right here. Can I get it out without letting everything drop? I sure hope so. Oh yeah, one of my favorites ever. This is the first edition. It's a mass market deck, the Marielle Tarot. This was definitely one of those where I was like, wow, this is a totally like such an original interpretation of the tarot. It made me go like, wow, oh, this is actually the card that sold me on the deck, because I was kind of looking for, you know, modern decks that had, you know, interesting masculine representation. And I felt that at the time when I found this was the only deck that had that offered that, because most of the decks that were interesting at the time were like strictly femme and were all like, fuck men, you know, like things like that. And I remember reading the guidebook and being completely amazed. And I think that kind of spoiled it too for me, because, you know, not every deck is gonna be a Marielle Tarot. People are gonna like, you know, sometimes you just have your like cute, quick and easy decks, but do I really need all of them? Long story short, that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I did get some new stuff in, and I want to talk about a way to kind of deepen your bond with your collection. So something new that I got, which is really cool, is this. My friend Jens made this, and I've been wanting it for the longest time. And you know, he did a Kickstarter last year or 2 years ago almost, I feel like, and it failed. And he redid it, and now it's finally here, and I'm in love with it. It came with this really cute little velvet bag and a legit rosary, which I adore. Jens is like super Catholic, and those influences come through in this deck. The deck is based on the 7 stages of grief. It's an oracle deck, by the way. So the 7 stages of grief and a certain tarot system. And yeah, I really adore it. It's some really great linen cardstock, but I still kind of want to work with it a little bit more to kind of see what my final thoughts on it are. But it comes with these really, really cool images, and really, really cool keywords. So charm, sensitivity, possession. Ha! I love that. Purging, Schadenfreude, bound, and all the keywords are kind of negative. So this deck is kind of like meant for you to look at your darker side, at your, you know, at your shadow kind of. I love this one too, privilege. So there's some really cool hard-hitting words in here. This is a 70 card oracle deck, which is quite a lot. It's very like, it's very Catholic, it's very satanic, it's very gay, it's very camp, it's very vintagey. I love this one. This is contract. Are you ready to sign the deal? I love this one as well. Baby, are you ready to kill your darlings? That's what he always says whenever he pulls this card, and I love that. Let's see if I can find another cool one. My favorite one, unholiness. So yeah, this is a really cool deck. It's really meant to kind of help you look at the darker aspects of your life. It comes with a great guidebook with tons of information, also about the system he used, and that's really, really interesting. Anyway, so I got that. I already did a little video on the Ad Orbita Tarot, which was a really, really pleasant surprise for me, because I genuinely thought this was going to be another one of those purely aesthetically pleasing witchy decks that, you know, looks really cool and vintagey, but this actually offers more than your random run-of-the-mill aesthetic, and there's actually like very carefully chosen symbolism in here, which I adore. And now that I kind of look at it, it's a nice segue almost into the next segment, which I don't want to like head into yet. But you know, the next segment is kind of all about cool pairs, and I feel like aesthetically, This pairs really well with the Purgatorium deck, the Purgatorium Hex deck that Jens made. So yeah, that's really cool. I've been playing a lot with my own new deck, the Inner Alignment Chakra Tarot, which is totally bomb.com. I hope it's focusing. It should be focusing. I adore the way this deck turned out. You know, I created this in a very fast time period. It was this creative burst. I love the vector style graphics of it. I love that it's based on the chakras. I love how visible and clear the images are, how crisp they are. I just adore it. I adore the backs. I adore the gradients. So yeah, this was really like something different for me. Normally I'm really all about line work, and this was very much about silhouettes and kind of making those work and working with color, and you know, it's just stuff that I never ever do. And I also did something sneaky. So yeah, I have this really big obsession with Tom of Finland. I adore Tom of Finland, and Tom of Finland is an artist that did gay male erotica from Finland, and there is a deck of playing cards, Tom of Finland playing cards, but there's not a deck of Tom of Finland tarot cards. So I decided to make one myself. This is of course sort of illegal because you're not supposed to like just randomly use an artist's images, but this is just for personal use. This is not something that I'm gonna sell, but I really wanted to have it, and I think it turned out really great. It was actually really easy to find images that kind of depict the tarot meanings out of his work. His work is very archetypal, which I adore. I adore this Ace of Cups. Look at that with the sailor. How perfect. So yeah, his work is very homoerotic. It's interesting. Of course, you know, nowadays some people would say it's not woke enough or it's not inclusive enough, and that's all true, but remember some of this work dates back to the 1950s when it was still illegal to even like fantasize about men. So yeah, this is a really cool little masculine gay deck that I whipped up, and this is what the backs look like. So yeah, these are all just images I found on Google, and I created a little tarot deck out of them just for me, you know. And I've done that more often. I have a couple decks back here that feature artwork like that, but this is just one that I wanted to show off. Let's see, is there anything else that's new? Oh yeah, and another new thing that I got in that I didn't really make a video for, but that's really cool. This is the Magpie Lenormand, really big box, because it features a lot of stuff. The sticker sheet. Oh yeah, this is really dope. Like there was a lot of extras with this one. You get a Ouija board. It's made out of cardboard, by the way. It's really good quality though, and a little planchette that you can use, kind of like that. And it can also function as a pendant because there's a little pendant ring. I'm the worst beauty guru ever, but you can kind of see it, right? So that's really cool. And then there's this really neat hardcover little guidebook on the Lenormand, and then there is the deck itself. The deck comes in this really cool blue metallic gilding, and the cards are just so wonderful. Their illustration style is really cool. I'm not the biggest fan of Lenormand decks because, you know, like there's only so little you can do with the Lenormand. Sometimes I also feel like people just make a Lenormand deck because it's easier, because it's only 36 illustrations. But it's really, really interesting. They're really interesting, cool depictions, and I adore it. There's also some extra cards. The moth, let's see. There's no lady and gentleman in here, but we have the moth, and then we have the chrysalid, the caterpillar. So you can use either of those as your significator in the deck. And it's a really, really interesting deck. For example, the whip is just this illustration of thunder, which I really like. We have the bear. Oh man, the bear is so cool. So the illustration quality is really good. The card stock is really good quality as well. The overall package was just really neat. These are the backs, by the way, which I adore. So yeah, so that I got that in as well. So yeah, and another thing that I've been really into lately is creating cool like mini collections of decks. Some of you may know I'm a librarian. That's my profession. I studied English. I'm an English major. I taught for the longest of times, and now I am a full-fledged librarian. And as a librarian, I create mini collections of books or full-fledged collections of books for kids. And you know, whenever you like create a collection, you kind of want a balance. You know, you could have a balance within your collection between, you know, like pulp and more literary stuff and everything in between. I work with schools mainly. Some schools will want, you know, books on little mini collections within their big collection on certain topics. And then they'll want fiction as well as nonfiction. So all that kind of stuff I'm really busy with, you know, curating cool collections every day. And I was like, why don't I do that within my own like tarot collection? So I decided to start doing it, and I gave myself a little assignment. And you know, some of these are, you know, most of these are put together for the aesthetic reasons, as well as they function very well together. Some of these are just together for the aesthetics. Some of them don't go together at all aesthetically, but have a common theme. So yeah, there's all these kind of like little cookie collections. And the first collection I want to show you is the Mystic Midnight Oracle Celestial Ascension Edition, paired with the Threads of Fate Oracle. The boxes also look kind of similar. And then the Fortuna deck. Now, let me show you why these pair well together. And I know I should have prepared this, but today I was kind of in a mood where I just wanted to sit down and film. So, why did I pick these together? The Fortuna deck is a fabulous tarot deck, which is really cool. The Mystic Midnight Oracle is a fabulous astrology tarot hybrid. And then the Threads of Fate is a fabulous Oracle Tarot hybrid. So, you know, they kind of go together, not just theme-wise, but also looks-wise. I mean, look at that. They all have the foil, which looks really cool together. I mean, look at that. Oh, you can really see it well like this. So that looks really good together, but they also read very magnificently together. So that's really an amazing little mini collection. I love sparkly, shiny things. So I have this deck. It's called the Magpie Tarot. I came across it via Kasia of Tarot Map. And Kasia always has an eye for, you know, the extraordinary decks that not every basic tarot bitch is using, and I always aspire to be more like her sometimes, because I can get a little basic, like I said, with my shiny shit. So the Magpie Tarot is a very special tarot deck based around the phases of the moon. And this is one of my more femme decks. It has these really sweet and neat oil paintings. And on each card, you will not just see the illustration in the card title, but it will always say which moon phase she tied that card to. So Six of Swords is, according to her, is tied to the first quarter moon in Aquarius. One of my favorites, the Six of Wands. Look at the owl. Can you guys see that? Will it focus? Yeah. is tied to the first quarter moon in Taurus. So you can kind of use that for timing. I've had some freaky readings with this one where I was like, how is this upcoming weekend trip going to be? And I pulled a card and it was literally that weekend a certain solstice was happening, and that card was literally tied to that solstice, the Prince of Cups for the vernal equinox. So she did a lot of work, and I have a couple of other lunar decks that go really well with this, not in the sense of aesthetics, but in the sense of content. So I have this deck, the Spirit de la Lune, a really gorgeous, neat little moon phase deck, which has, you know, all the moon phases, but also all the special types of moons with little keywords on there. Really great guidebook. Some of the cards are more illustrated than others, but it's a really gorgeous little round deck, and it just goes really well together with the Magpie Tarot. So that's really nice. And then I also like to use the Ethereal Orbs, which uses the mansions of the moon. And like I said, these don't go that well together aesthetically. However, when it comes to content, they go very well together. It's not always about the aesthetics. It's sometimes also about, you know, the contents. All right, so another category that I have is another very aesthetically pleasing one. This is the Astral Realms Crystal Oracle by Rockpool Publishing, designed by Prism and Fleur Design Studio. And I kind of stole this idea from Boho Tarot, but she decided, since there are 3 keywords on each card, which you can't really see right now, but let me see if I can go close up a little bit. So you have the card, and then you'll have a keyword right here, and right here. And what she did, since this is a smaller deck, there's only like 33 cards in here. What she did is she kind of like takes this as a base card and then uses another deck and pulls a card for each of the concepts that is on this side of the card, kind of using it as a spread deck, as you will. And you know, this deck has a lot of like cool Photoshop-esque things going on, and I really like pairing these with the Starseed Oracle by Daniel Noel. Not just the fronts, but also the backs. The backs match really well as well. And also, of course, the Moon Child Tarot also goes really well with, you know, with this deck. Let me see if I can show it to you. So this is from the Moon Child, and it just has that really nice flowing ethereal vibe, which I kind of adore. But you could also very well use this with, you know, basically with any deck that kind of has that ethereal Photoshop vibe. It just, I don't know, it just flows. This deck just tends to flow really well with those types of decks. So it really works well with the Astral Realms Oracle, kind of using that as a base. So that's another little tip that I wanted to give you guys. Another one that's also pretty ethereal, but they go together really gorgeously, is a set of 2 Oracle decks. The Magic of Unicorns as well as the Star Temple Oracle. These really go together well, but these look really good together. The colors, the messages, they really vibe well off of each other. So that's another little, you know, like, so the whole mini collection would be the Astral Realms Oracle as a base, kind of as a spread. So that Oracle kind of decides, that deck kind of decides what the 3 cards, what concepts they're going to revolve around. And then I would either use the Moonchild Tarot or the Star Temple Oracle or the Starseed Oracle or the Magic of Unicorns Oracle, or maybe 2 of each, or maybe 1 tarot card, 2 Oracle cards. This would actually be a really neat, like, little collection, like a really neat little one and done collection. Like, if somebody were to say, hey, I'm someone who wants to get into tarot, and I'm serious about it, and I want to start with a neat little starter kit. I also kind of like oracle decks. Where do I start as a beginner? Which deck should I get? And I know that one's kind of expensive, but I would still say, hey, you know, if you're into like this aesthetic, kind of that like modern ethereal Photoshop aesthetic, I would recommend getting the Moonchild, maybe the Star Temple Oracle, the Star Seed Oracle, or the Work Your Light, the Magic of Unicorns, and the Astral Realms, and you'll be set for a while. You'll be satisfied. Just really wanted to sit down and make a chill video again. Like, it's been a while. Love you. Make cute little collections out of your mega deck collection and see what you want to work with. And I kind of feel like I want to work with this combination a little bit more, so I think I may do that in the next coming weeks, see how that works out for me. And if you have like any cool like mini capsule collection ideas yourself, please write them down in the comments below. It's really interesting to kind of exchange those ideas. So thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.